I was lying face down on the freshly mowed grass of the seventh hole at Desert Ridge Country Club when I heard my wife Diana laugh through the speakerphone. The golf course attendant, a young man named Tyler who looked barely old enough to shave, was holding my phone and trying to explain that I was having a heart attack. My chest felt like someone had parked a truck on it. My left arm was completely numb. I could taste copper in my mouth, and the Arizona sun was burning into my back like a punishment from above. Tyler was panicking. He kept saying the same words over and over. "Sir, your husband collapsed on the golf course. The paramedics are on the way, but they said it looks like a massive cardiac event. You need to come to Banner Desert Medical Center right now. This is serious." I waited for the scream. I waited for her to drop whatever she was doing and rush to me. I had been married to Diana for 12 years. I had pulled her out of debt when we met. I had given her a life she never dreamed of. I expected at least a gasp of concern. Instead, I heard ice clinking in a glass. Then I heard her voice, sharp and annoyed. She said, "Tyler, is it? Look, I understand this is stressful for you, but we are at the airport. Our flight to Maui leaves in 90 minutes. My stepdaughter-in-law is getting married at the Four Seasons tomorrow. Do you have any idea how much this destination wedding cost us? $40,000 for the family package, non-refundable." Tyler's jaw dropped. I could see his shadow on the grass, frozen in disbelief. Diana continued. "Call 911. Get him to the hospital. He has excellent insurance. I made sure of that when I married him. We will video call from Hawaii to check on him. The reception is at sunset and I already bought the dress. Have the doctors contact me if he dies." Then she hung up. The sound of the disconnect was the last thing I heard before the darkness swallowed me whole. That single beep. That was the sound of 12 years of marriage ending in one breath. As I felt my heart struggling to beat, I made a promise. If I survived this day, I would make that $40,000 wedding the most expensive party Diana ever attended. She wanted a vacation in paradise? I was going to make sure she came home to hell. Before I continue, please subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments what state you are watching from. It helps me connect with you. Also hit that like button if you believe family should be there for each other when it matters most, not just when the champagne is flowing. My name is Raymond Mitchell, but everyone who has ever worked in the operating rooms of Phoenix calls me Ray. I spent 40 years as a cardiovascular surgeon. I saved lives for a living. I held beating hearts in my hands. I made enough money to retire at 62 with $6 million in investments, a paid-off house in Scottsdale worth $1.8 million, and a reputation that meant something in this city. I also had a son named Marcus from my first marriage. His mother, Helen, was the love of my life. She died of ovarian cancer 18 years ago, and I never fully recovered. Marcus was 20 when she passed. I thought losing his mother would bring us closer together. Instead, it created a distance I could never bridge. I met Diana 5 years after Helen died. She was working as an office manager at a dental practice. She was charming, attentive, and she made me feel less alone. I didn't see the calculation behind her smile. I didn't notice how her eyes lit up when I mentioned my investment portfolio. I was just a lonely widower looking for warmth, and she provided exactly what I needed, or what I thought I needed. Marcus married Vanessa 3 years ago. Vanessa came from money, or at least she acted like it. Her family owned a chain of dry cleaners that had gone bankrupt, but she never let go of the champagne tastes. She and Diana became fast friends, two women who understood the value of a rich, older man and how to extract maximum benefit from him. I paid for their wedding, $80,000 for a ceremony at the Phoenician resort. I bought them a house in Gilbert, $400,000. I covered the down payment because Marcus said he needed time to get his real estate business off the ground. That business never got off the ground. It just kept asking for more runway. The morning of my heart attack, I was supposed to play 18 holes with my old colleague, Dr. Frank Reeves. Frank had to cancel because his wife was sick, so I went alone. I remember standing on the 7th tee, feeling a strange tightness in my chest that I dismissed as heartburn from the breakfast burrito I had eaten at the clubhouse. I was a heart surgeon. I knew the symptoms better than anyone, but we always think we are the exception, don't we? I took my swing. The ball sliced right into the rough, and then the world tilted sideways. I woke up in the cardiac intensive care unit 3 days later. The room was white and sterile, filled with the rhythmic beeping of monitors and the soft hiss of oxygen. I expected to see flowers. I expected to see concerned faces hovering over my bed. I expected at least a card. The room was empty. A nurse named Patricia came in to check my vitals. She had kind eyes and the tired look of someone who had seen too much suffering. She told me I had a widowmaker heart attack, a complete blockage of the left anterior descending artery. They had to do emergency bypass surgery. I was dead for 2 minutes on the table before they brought me back. 2 minutes. That is how close I came to leaving everything I had built to people who couldn't be bothered to get on the next flight. I asked Patricia about my family. She hesitated, looking down at her clipboard. That hesitation told me everything. "Mr. Mitchell," she said softly, "we called the numbers in your file. Your wife said she would check in when she got back from her trip. Your son said the same thing. They asked us to keep them updated via text." Via text. My son wanted text updates while I was flatlining on an operating table. I asked her how long I had been unconscious. She said 3 days. 3 days was enough time to fly to Hawaii, attend a sunset wedding, drink Mai Tais on the beach, and post photos on Instagram. I asked Patricia for my phone. She handed it to me reluctantly, warning me that stress was bad for my recovery. I unlocked it with trembling fingers. There were no missed calls from Diana. No missed calls from Marcus. There was one text from my daughter-in-law, Vanessa, sent 36 hours after my collapse. It said, "Hope you feel better soon, Dad. The wedding was beautiful. Diana caught the bouquet. LOL. LOL." My daughter-in-law sent me LOL while I was in a medically induced coma. I opened Instagram. Diana had posted 17 times in 3 days. There she was in a flowing sundress, holding a cocktail on the beach. There she was at the rehearsal dinner, posing with Marcus and Vanessa. There she was at the wedding ceremony, dabbing her eyes with what looked like a handkerchief. I zoomed in on the photo. That was not a handkerchief. That was a vintage Cartier silk pocket square that I had bought in Paris during our honeymoon. It cost $400. I had kept it in my desk drawer as a memento of what I thought was a romantic trip. She was using it to wipe her fake tears at someone else's wedding while I was fighting for my life. I scrolled further. There was a photo of Diana dancing with a man I didn't recognize. He was young, maybe 35, with slicked back hair and a tight-fitting suit. The caption said, "Met the most amazing dance partner tonight. Aloha vibes." I felt my heart rate spike on the monitor. Patricia rushed over, concerned, but I waved her off. The pain in my chest was nothing compared to the fire building in my gut. I kept scrolling. There was a video. Diana was sitting at the hotel bar, clearly several drinks in, laughing with the same man from the dance floor. She was leaning into him, her hand on his arm. She said, and I heard it clearly through my phone's speaker, "This is Jared. He is the resort's wellness coordinator. He has been teaching me hot yoga, much better than those boring golf mornings with you-know-who." She winked at the camera. The man laughed. My wife was flirting on camera while her husband was in the ICU. I put the phone down. I stared at the ceiling tiles. I counted 12 of them before I felt calm enough to think clearly. This was not grief. This was not shock. This was clarity. The kind of clarity that comes when you finally see the truth you have been avoiding for years. I was not a husband to Diana. I was a retirement plan. I was not a father to Marcus. I was an ATM machine with a heartbeat, and now that the heartbeat had become inconvenient, they were perfectly happy to let it stop while they sipped champagne on a beach. I reached for the nurse call button. Patricia came back quickly. "I need a phone charger," I said, "and I need you to call a number for me. His name is Harold Green. He is my attorney. Tell him Ray Mitchell needs him here today. Tell him it is about my will." Patricia looked at me with surprise. "Mr. Mitchell, you just had major surgery. Maybe this can wait." I looked her in the eye. "If I die tomorrow, the people who left me here alone will inherit everything I spent 40 years building. I need to make sure that doesn't happen. Can you help me?" She nodded slowly. She understood. She had probably seen this before. The vultures circling. The family members calculating inheritance while the patient was still warm. "I will make the call," she said. "And Mr. Mitchell? I am sorry. You deserve better." I closed my eyes. Yes, I thought. I do. And I am going to make sure I get it. Harold Green was not just my attorney. He was my friend of 30 years. We had played poker together every month since the Reagan administration. He had helped me structure my estate, protect my assets, and navigate my divorce from Helen's memory into a new marriage with Diana. He had warned me about the prenup. I should have listened more carefully. He arrived at the hospital 2 hours after Patricia's call. He was 70 years old, silver-haired, and still sharp as a scalpel. He walked into my room carrying a leather briefcase that I knew contained more firepower than a small arsenal. He looked at the empty chairs. He looked at the absence of flowers. He didn't say anything about it. He didn't have to. "I assume you didn't call me here to update your golf handicap," Harold said, pulling up a chair. I handed him my phone. I showed him Diana's Instagram posts. I showed him the video of her with Jared. I told him about the phone call on the golf course. I told him about the LOL text from Vanessa. Harold listened without interrupting. His face remained neutral, but I could see his jaw tightening with every detail. When I finished, he opened his briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. "I did some preliminary research on the way over," he said. "I had a feeling this conversation was coming. Your instincts about Diana have been right for a while, Ray. You just didn't want to see it." He spread out several documents on my bed tray. Bank statements, credit card records, property filings. Over the past 18 months, Diana has made several large purchases you may not be aware of. A Lexus convertible titled in her name only, jewelry totaling $42,000, and most concerning, she co-signed a lease on an apartment in Tempe, a one-bedroom unit. The other name on the lease is Jared Holbrook, the wellness coordinator from the resort. I felt like I had been punched. She wasn't just flirting on vacation. She had a whole separate life. An apartment, a boyfriend. And I had been paying for all of it without knowing. "That is not all," Harold continued. He pulled out another document. "This is a petition filed with the Maricopa County Probate Court 3 weeks ago. It is a request to be named as your medical proxy and financial conservator in the event of your incapacitation." It was filed by Diana, with Marcus as co-petitioner. I stared at the paper. They had been planning for my decline before I even collapsed. "The petition claims that you have shown signs of cognitive decline and may not be capable of managing your own affairs. It cites your forgetfulness and mood swings. It requests emergency guardianship powers." I almost laughed. Cognitive decline. I had performed 3 successful bypass surgeries the month before I retired. My mind was sharper than ever, but on paper, with a cooperative doctor and a sympathetic judge, they could paint any story they wanted. "They were going to have me declared incompetent," I said slowly, the realization settling like ice in my veins. "They were going to take everything." Harold nodded. "If you had died on that golf course, Diana would have inherited the house, the investments, and the life insurance. But if you survived with complications, they had a backup plan. Get you declared unfit, put you in a facility, and manage your money until there was nothing left to manage." I looked at the ceiling again. I thought about the years I had spent providing for these people. The vacations, the cars, the house in Gilbert. Every time Marcus called asking for help with a business loan or a credit card payment, I said yes. Every time Diana wanted to redecorate or take a spa trip, I handed over the card. I was not being generous. I was being farmed. "Harold," I said quietly, "I want you to do something for me. Name it. I want to burn it all down. Legally, cleanly, and completely. I want to revoke every power of attorney. I want to freeze every joint account. I want to change my will tonight. And I want to sell the house before they get back from that wedding." Harold smiled. It was a grim, satisfied smile. He had been waiting years for me to say those words. "I already started the paperwork," he said. "I just needed you to wake up and confirm it. Now, let us discuss the prenuptial agreement." Diana signed a clause that voids her claim to marital assets in the event of proven infidelity. I believe we now have proof. I thought about those Instagram photos, that video at the bar, the apartment in Tempe. Get a private investigator, I said. I want photos. I want documentation. I want everything. Harold was already dialing. Consider it done. I spent the next 72 hours turning my hospital room into a war room. Patricia became my unofficial ally. She brought me extra pillows so I could sit up to review documents. She smuggled in decent coffee from the staff break room. She told me which nurses to trust and which ones might gossip to the wrong people. I signed the revocation of Diana's power of attorney. I signed new healthcare directives naming Harold as my sole medical proxy. I signed a revised will that left the bulk of my estate to the American Heart Association and a scholarship fund for underprivileged pre-med students at Arizona State. Diana and Marcus were each left exactly $1. Enough to prove I didn't forget them. Enough to prove I remembered exactly what they were worth. Then I called a real estate agent named Denise Chen, the best in Scottsdale. I had helped save her father's life 8 years ago after a triple bypass. She owed me a favor. Denise, I said, I need you to list my house. Today. She paused. Ray, your house is worth almost $2 million. You can't just list it without proper staging and marketing. We need professional photos, open houses, a whole campaign. I don't have time for that, I said. Listed at $1.5 million. Cash buyers only. Closing in 72 hours. Ray, that is $300,000 below market value. Are you sure? Denise, I would pay $300,000 to see the look on my wife's face when she comes home to a house she doesn't own anymore. Make it happen. She did. Within 8 hours, I had 3 offers. I accepted the highest one. From a tech executive relocating from San Francisco. The escrow was set to close Friday morning. Diana's flight was landing Friday afternoon. While the paperwork was being processed, I hired a moving company. I gave them specific instructions. My belongings, the things that actually mattered to me, went into a storage unit that only I had the key to. My medical books, Helen's jewelry, which I had kept locked in a safe, photo albums from before Diana, my vintage record collection, the golf clubs my father gave me 40 years ago. Everything else, Diana's designer furniture, Marcus's leftover junk from college, Vanessa's boxes of seasonal decorations she stored in my garage. All of it went to a different storage facility, a budget unit on the south side of Phoenix, near the industrial district. No climate control. No security cameras. Just a metal box baking in the desert sun. I paid for 1 month. I put Diana's email address on the account for billing. If she wanted her Gucci handbags and cashmere throws, she could figure out how to pay $50 a month to keep them from being auctioned off. By Thursday afternoon, my house was empty. The movers had swept the floors. The windows were clean. The only thing left was a single envelope on the kitchen island, containing the key to the storage unit and nothing else. I imagined Diana walking through the front door, expecting her marble countertops and crystal chandeliers, finding nothing but hardwood and echoes. I imagined her screaming. I imagined Marcus trying to call me, finding my number blocked. I imagined Vanessa's LOL turning into "oh my God." The thought kept me warm through the cold hospital nights. Harold visited me on Friday morning with an update. The house sale closed. $1.5 million was now sitting in a trust account that only I could access. Diana's name was nowhere on it. He also brought photos from the private investigator, Diana and Jared, entering the Tempe apartment together, leaving together the next morning, holding hands at a restaurant, kissing in a parking lot. The infidelity clause was now bulletproof. She is going to contest the divorce, Harold said. She is going to claim the prenup was signed under duress. She is going to fight. Let her fight, I said. I spent 40 years fighting to save other people's lives. At 2:30 Friday afternoon, Diana's flight landed at Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport. I know this because I tracked it. I wanted to know the exact moment her world started falling apart. Harold had stationed a process server at baggage claim. Diana was still wearing her vacation sundress when she was handed the envelope containing the divorce papers, the restraining order, and the notice that she had 48 hours to vacate a property that no longer belonged to her. I heard later, through Harold's network, that she started screaming in the middle of the terminal. Security was called. Marcus tried to calm her down, but he was served next. His papers included a demand letter for the immediate repayment of the $400,000 loan I had given him for the Gilbert house. The loan he had been ignoring for 3 years. They tried to come to the hospital. The security guards I had hired stopped them at the entrance. They tried to call Harold. He didn't answer. They tried to call the new owners of my house. The owners called the police. By Friday night, my family was homeless, penniless, and completely shut out of my life. I watched the sunset from my hospital window. It was beautiful, orange and pink streaking across the desert sky. I felt lighter than I had in years. Patricia came in to check my vitals one last time before her shift ended. She looked at my face and paused. "You are smiling," she said. "That is the first time I have seen you smile since you woke up." I looked at her. "For the first time in 12 years, Patricia, I know exactly who I am and what I want, and I know who doesn't deserve to be part of it anymore." She nodded slowly. "Good for you, Mr. Mitchell. Good for you. It has been 4 months since I walked out of that hospital. I did walk out, by the way. 2 weeks of intensive cardiac rehabilitation, and I was on my feet. The physical therapist said she had never seen a 70-year-old man work so hard. I told her I had motivation. I had people I needed to stand over when I delivered the final verdict. I live in San Diego now, a small cottage in La Jolla, overlooking the ocean. I wake up every morning to the sound of waves crashing on the rocks below my window. I read medical journals for fun. I take long walks on the beach, monitoring my heart rate on a smartwatch that cost more than Diana's monthly Botox budget. Harold sends me monthly reports on what he calls the aftermath. Diana is living in the Tempe apartment with Jared. She filed for divorce modification 3 times, trying to claim a larger share of the assets. Every filing was rejected. The prenup was ironclad. She got her Lexus, her jewelry, and her $1 inheritance. That is it. She is working part-time at a spa, answering phones and booking appointments, the same kind of job she had when I met her, 15 years ago. Full circle. Jared, the wellness coordinator, dumped her 2 months in. It turns out he was only interested when she was the wife of a rich surgeon. When she became just another broke divorcee, he lost interest fast. She is single now, living alone, posting motivational quotes on Instagram about strong women surviving adversity. I blocked her account, but Harold keeps me updated. Marcus lost the house in Gilbert. He couldn't make the payments without my support, and the bank foreclosed. He and Vanessa moved into a rental apartment in Mesa. He drives for a rideshare company now, picking up drunk college students at 2 in the morning. His real estate business never recovered. Turns out it is hard to sell houses when you have no capital, no clients, and a reputation for being the son who abandoned his dying father for a beach wedding. Vanessa filed for divorce last month. She said Marcus was not the man she married. I could have told her that years ago. He was never a man at all. He was a boy who never grew up because I never made him. That is the hardest part, honestly. Not the betrayal, not the greed, the realization that I enabled all of it. I gave them everything, and in doing so, I taught them that they never had to earn anything. I created the entitlement that eventually consumed my own life. But I am done with guilt. Guilt is a luxury for people who have time to waste. I am 67 years old. My heart almost stopped once. I am not going to spend whatever time I have left feeling sorry for people who wished I was dead. I had dinner last week with Patricia. She quit her job at the hospital and is going back to nursing school to become a nurse practitioner. I wrote her a check for her tuition. She tried to refuse. I told her it was an investment in someone who actually cared whether I lived or died. Harold came to visit last weekend. We played golf at Torrey Pines. I shot an 82, my best round in years. He said the heart attack must have fixed my swing. I told him it fixed a lot of things. People ask me if I regret cutting off my son. They ask if I miss Diana. They ask if I feel lonely in that cottage by the sea. The answer is no. I do not regret protecting myself from people who saw me as nothing more than a source of income. I do not miss a woman who was counting down the days until I died. And I am not lonely. For the first time in over a decade, I have peace. Family is not about blood. Family is about loyalty. It is about showing up when things are hard, not just when the champagne is flowing. Diana showed me who she was when she chose a destination wedding over my deathbed. Marcus showed me who he was when he filed for guardianship before I even woke up. Vanessa showed me who she was, with 3 letters. LOL. I showed them who I am too. A man who built his own life once, and can build it again. A man who does not need their approval or their presence to be whole. A man who finally learned that the only person responsible for his happiness is himself. I sit on my deck every evening and watch the sun go down over the Pacific. I think about Helen sometimes. I think about the life we could have had if she had lived. I think she would be proud of me now, not for the revenge, for the freedom. The screen fades to black. We spend our lives building empires for the people we love, assuming they will guard the gates when we are weak. But I learned the hard way that some people are just waiting for the walls to fall so they can loot the rubble. Being a provider is not about how much you give. It is about who you give it to. If you are watching this and you have family members who only call when they need something, who only visit when there is an inheritance to discuss, who would choose a vacation over your emergency room, let this be your wake-up call. Your love is not a bottomless well. Your patience is not a renewable resource. And your peace of mind is worth more than any relationship that costs you everything and gives you nothing in return. You are never too old to start over. You are never too broken to rebuild. And you are never too invested in the wrong people to finally walk away. If you enjoyed this story, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I want to hear from you in the comments below. If your family left you dying for a party, would you have taken them back? Or would you have changed the locks like I did? Let me know your thoughts. See you in the next story.